Alrighty, Doc here from North America. Good morning, good afternoon, and am I streaming? Yeah, I'm streaming. Okay, good. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's another fun-filled day. Today is Happy to Hump Day. We're already on Wednesday now, and so for us Americans, it was like long 3-day weekend, the end of the summer. I keep on hearing people complaining about the idea that it's the end of the summer, especially the ones that boat. They're like, I said, so you wear warm weather gear? That's pretty much the answer to that. All right, you can see the dollar zipping to the moon, and when we get to over to the currencies itself, the different pairs trades, wait do you see the what do you call it, the yen against the dollar. I mean, it's 2 days in a row of zoom, zoom, zoom. Now, yesterday I was listening to some people that I trust. I listened to some of the financial people that I trust, and it was interesting that they were saying king dollar is king dollar, but because of the inflation, we're not really. It doesn't have the buying power here in the States as it did before, whereas normally when we have a responsible Federal Reserve that doesn't let it get out of control, that's pretty much the better way, of course. But right now, we see a very strong dollar. It's not really doing anything but going up against the other pairs trades, as you can see there. This is the dollar index today. Look at the size of that move. I mean, that's a pretty big move. We should probably do it as candles. It would be even more louder, Let's take a look at the euro. And the euro is banging against the bottom again, I guess you could say. Let's see if we widen that out like so. Is this the low, or was yesterday the low? Low was 98.75.5. Yesterday, 98.64. So yesterday was the low. How about the day before? No. So yesterday was the low, and then it, they tried to take it up. They took it down, and now they're going back after it again on the downside. And here we are with that weekly sell going on. Same thing over here on J4X with the dollar index itself. Green lines have, what's going on with those green lines? Okay, there it is. So it's scaling at this point. We have to adjust that scaling. You use this chart here to adjust the scaling. When it's green like that, and then most of the time, I guess there's a way of probably doing it more professionally, but I have not tried. I just use it. In other words, you see it goes minus here, and then you have that confirm, and then so it's like an adjustment. You just automatically know that try to go minus again and go plus, but that without red here, and it goes up in value. Now let's go over to the euro and take a look at the euro this morning. On that, there it is, right there. There we go. And the euro doing the same gig. It's trying, but it was running through here and then broke down, and you can see all the red. So the pressure is on. Oh, what a quiet day! Nobody's. It shows nobody's around. Can you hear me now? Let me just to make sure there's sound to it, since no one is even around saying hi. Not even Robin. Robin's working on a yen article as we speak. And we've got a Facebook going on now too, so that's pretty cool. Not the Chicago Quant Facebook. We're using a quarterly magazine that Robin's involved with. So that is going on. Let me just make the sound louder. Okay, there we go. Good. That's good. I can hear us. You can hear me now. All right. So anyhow, that is the action we're seeing. Is a super dollar move, and again, it's probably because of that bad habit we have here in the States: buy low, sell high. Whereas a lot of the world has been for a while now: buy low, sell lower. So that is the name of that game. From there, was it Great Britain got a new prime minister on Monday, was it, or Sunday, one or the other? And then she looks very organized. We'll see. She's saying that she's a Thatcherite, so that's a very positive thing. to have someone that believes in capitalism, and when you have people that follow capitalism, you have growth. The less capitalism, less growth. You need to grow out of these things. If you're going to spend the money, you got to make the money, and that's what free markets and free people do. They make money because they want to have a better life. What was it? Where was it? Was it France or Greece? Just recently, in the last 48 or 72 hours, there was a story, and I might even be wrong on which of the two countries. I've seen them in both before, but something about there's 20,000 swimming pools in private backyards of houses not registered, so they don't have to pay the taxes. And hey, Metho, how you doing? And that usually is a big thing. When the taxes are so outrageous, swimming pools, you're stealing people's relaxation. Go ahead, steal their relaxation. You think they're going to work harder? No. And it's the socialists always come up with bozo ideas about raising prices on everything and anything, when in fact taxes. Was it Art Laffer, the one that came out? Art Laffer, who came out with the supply side economics that boomed the United States through the roof in the 80s, and during the Reagan years, and then Donald Trump did the same thing in his 4 years, where our economy just exploded up in value, and then the COVID came along, and that slowed it down, and then the crazy election that we had. But in the end result is that if you don't allow people to make money and keep it, they're not going to work, or they're not going to pay taxes. And taxes have consequences. I think that's the title of the book. Taxes have consequences. How increase your taxes, reduce your productivity. Increase your taxes, reduce growth of your country. Increase taxes, reduce innovation and development. When you drop the taxes, you get those things. When you increase the taxes, you lose those things. It's not very complicated. I'll leave you with this last part about rambling about this particular subject, and that is that I saw this physicist, and I really saved it at the time, and I cannot find it. And it was back in the, I want to say it was in the 1990s, and he talked about the idea about the income tax of 1913 that went into effect in the United States. And he says, what he did is he looked at innovation, incorporation, what was the other things? He had all these different things that he looked at. And he went from 1618 William Bradford all the way up to the Revolution and becoming independent in 1776. And then he looked at the growth and curves and the charts, and the moment that they put the income tax in 1913, it was the curve shifted dramatically, and he and he showed that there was less incorporations, there was less innovations, so there was less where you get patents. There was less, it just went on and on and on. He dissected it mechanically, and you could see the curve drop. But he said, if that had not happened, and this was in the late 1990s, he wrote this. He said that we'd probably be flying through the solar system, because, by the time the airplane, and then the automobile, then the airplane, and then the commercial flights. He said that the growth patterns did not match our, the cotton gin and the railroad system. In other words, the curves were just nowhere near what the curves were. The what he called the accelerated curve, running up fast with all the innovations beforehand. And he said if he'd put those same curves into airplanes and spaceships and so forth, or no, airplanes. He said that the airplane would have been developed to the point where it flew in space by, I don't know, was it something like 1985 or something like that. He said we probably would have had equipment to go literally through around the solar system, the technology would have been there. He says, but you could see when you compare to like 1776 to 2000 to 1913 and the innovations, and then extrapolate those innovations to the innovations that were being developed in 1913, and then further out into I think he broke them down in 25-year periods, and it was just a whole different world. So taxes have consequences. That's exactly it. And a lack of growth just, slows things down. All right. From the euro, we were talking about basically the cable with the new prime minister and saying she believes in growth. Well, this morning, obviously, they popped it yesterday. You can see that there. And just missed going into the buy, I guess. Or did it go into the buy? I think it went into the buy. It went into the buy. And you can see today they are pressuring it again. Right there. Into the sell. So that pressure is on it again. I guess, that there was a little hype for the couple-day romance of the new prime minister. You can see here, same thing on J4X. Cable still just gliding down. Just still trying to turn up. I got my fingers crossed. I'm hoping England starts to develop its coal again, starts to drill for more oil, drills for more gas. I hope it goes back to normal. In other words, to what's this? Oh, like trading with Doc. Hey, nice advertisement. Click for the join the live stream. Excellent. So I'm hoping that they awake to the reality, and then from there, the Europeans start to awake to the reality and start to allow growth, because no growth, no opportunity. No opportunity, people don't develop things. It's just a vicious circle. All right, from there we will slide over to let's see, where's it at? Let's see. Over to there we go to the Swiss. Let's check out the Swiss. Where are you, Swiss? Right there. And the Swiss just keeps on marching up. You can see that. It's just up and away. And that weekly buy, money is running towards the Swiss for, or I guess it's losing. They're selling Swiss. I guess they had their money parked there. They're moving it to America. I don't know. I thought Swiss is like the second place to go to, but it's feeling the pain of the dollar and the inflation, just like everybody else is. Right there on J4X. In the 98s now. And you can see we were up here before. Back in June during the first big explosion in inflation. So, that adventure is not stalling out. In other words, the money is trying to find a place to make money. People want to buy low and sell high, not be European and buy low and sell lower. That is, those days with Draghi and possibly Christine Lagarde may be over with. Maybe people are going to wake up to the reality of a good government allows countries and neighborhoods and counties and whatever else you call them, what do they call them, canteens and so forth, allow them to grow, to develop, to innovate. That's an important factor, and that's going to be that is probably it at this point in time. Why we're seeing a strong dollar is because we're one of the last places that does that. And even now with Biden trying to stop it, I've heard people get on, like some of the money managers going, well, they're selling everything out at discount, so we're going to buy some of this here and we'll dollar cost average in it, and we'll see how it goes from there. But you got to remember, with derivatives, you can always sell the calls and buy the puts and at least have the position. But when you go to when you're a fund and you go to buy 500,000 shares in a company, and if you don't do it gingerly, the next thing you know, you're pushing it up, because these markets are not that liquid anymore. The market making has dried up dramatically. The Federal Reserve, central banks don't really support market making more than just to basic market making. Have a bid and offer for 100 lot, a 300 lot. But when it comes to buying 50,000 shares or a 250,000 shares or 500,000 shares or 1,000,000 shares or 2,000,000 shares, there's no real market making going on in that anymore. The banks are not allowed to do it. The commercial banks are not allowed really to do it anymore. They're not allowed to have trading desks that speculate. The Federal Reserve has made that very clear. And the brokerage houses have a little of the desk, but not allowed to, because remember, most of the brokerage houses have actually become, with Glass-Steagall gone, they have become banks. So Goldman Sachs is now really a bank. J.P. Morgan Chase is a bank with a big, powerful brokerage arm, just like Goldman Sachs. But they're banks. It means the Federal Reserve watches everything they do. All right, from there, we slide over to the Turkish Lira. Let's see what they're doing with Mr. and Mrs. Turkish Lira. We'll go to the dollar side of it first. Yesterday was a new high, I guess. 1827.75. Today's high is 1824. So yeah, yesterday was a new high. And it looks like it's flirting. Let's widen this out a little bit. It looks like it's flirting with a daily buy now. See, its last 3 days are in a sell, but it's trying to turn up. Well, we're in a weekly. We're in a weekly for, I don't know, 29 weeks, something like that. Since February, the week of February 10th. So March 10th, April 10th, May 10th, June 10th, July 10th, August 10th, and now September 10th. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at 7 months in a weekly buy. This product refuses to go into a weekly sell since back in here. All right, from there we drift over to the Euro Turkish Lira, which we'll put up on the J4X also, right there. And that trades more like a currency than the dollar Turkish Lira pairs trade. There it is right there. And it's the 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 5th day in a sell. But it is 2, 4, 6. This is the 8th week in a buy. So you can't really take the shorts, you only can take the longs. And it's nowhere near. It's very distorted. Let me just tighten this up and show you how distorted it is compared to the back on February 10th here. It goes into the sell. That's January. Goes into the buy same way the dollar does. Goes 2 weeks in a buy and then a sell. Then 3 weeks and then into a buy, and a bunch of weeks in a buy from March to basically May 1st. And then it goes into a sell and then goes back into a buy again. And it's not taking out its all-time high the way the dollar Turkish Lira is. You see that right there with that dotted line right there. Matter of fact, you don't even see the dotted line unless we scrunch it. Yeah, like that. Look how far away it is. It was like 2071. We're just hanging on the 18s. And it's funny to watch the dollar and the euro pairs trade basically at parity. In this case now it's actually discounted. And there's the action we're seeing. We can see a little curve here going on our weekly signal. The daily signal is telling us that there's weakness, and it has been. Not a lot, but it has been. And the weekly signal is telling us that from the 1735 40 area, 1750 area, that there's strength. Every time they've tried to smack it, it comes right back up again. So they'll do a little digesting. Remember, this is being used like a currency, which is really nice. So it goes, there's in and out, and money's going there to trade. Not trade, to buy goods, hopefully. All right, from there we slide over to the Canadian. There's the CAD. You see the CAD cruising up. It's been in a buy for a week and a half. So it's at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days. Gave us a volatility signal there. And you can see 3 good solid weeks now with a buy right there. And let's put it up over here. What we'll do is we're going to go reverse. We'll go oil, put oil up, and then from oil we'll reverse them out. So you can see here is U.S. light sweet crude. It's been moving down, and when it moves down, the Canadian goes up. And then we go over to light sweet crude here, and it's kind of sideways down, you know. I mean, it's been down as J4X shows you. And then let's put the Canadian up there now. And the Canadian is going up. You can see that on both of those. And you can see our weekly in a week now for a 4th week. Our daily has been in a sell for was it 6 days. And you know, the weekly went into the buy down in here. And now we are actually below it, which is fascinating. So in other words, you know, it gave that last big pop up, and now it's in a sell. And I keep on waiting for this to roll over and get us a sell, but so far it hasn't happened. And I would imagine it's because, you know, a lot of traders are not interested in selling the energy sector. You know, they don't believe that it's going to stay down in here, and that they figure it's going to find another way to go back up again, especially with the cooler months showing up. Yo, Robin. All right. It's a transitory day. We get up to 6 or 7 or 8, and then they drop down to 3, and then back in again and out. It's Wednesday. People are like, ugh. I'll check you out tomorrow. All right. From there, we slide over to the South African Rand to take a look at the metals complex. And there's the gold. And let's see what South African Rand looks like on over here. Right there. There it is. You see it's been rising up. It tried to do a little bit yesterday. And you can see it's trying to break down here. And at the same time, you can see gold tried to give it a pop yesterday. And now it's, you know, still at its lows. And it's been playing with the weekly sell from, to be exact, it's right there. It went into the weekly sell. And so that week it closed in there. That's why we usually put it right on the bar itself. And then just to confirm it all, and you can see the pressure that's been on this product, and it's been in a daily sell for something like, what's that, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16, 17 days today is. 17 days in a daily sell. Just as we went into the weekly buy, which was like right there, it popped for a day and went into a sell. And we went into a weekly buy, and that's all it's been, is in a sell ever since. Yo, yo, yo. And so that is the action we're seeing, and let's just reverse it out so you can see it on here. Here is the South African Rand right there, and let's put gold on here. There we are. You see that weakness like that with the gold, and you see the South African Rand going up in value, again, losing against the dollar. And that's why we look at these two particular products, matching them up with their respective commodities that seems to have great influence on them. All right, from there we slide over to the big show. Here it is, the Japanese yen. Check that out. Bang, bang, almost 145, right? 144.99. It's like gasoline. You know, boom. For a gallon of gasoline, we'll sell it to you for $3.99. $4.09 of a cent. Yeah, look at that. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Daily buy, weekly buy. It's been buy, buy, buy in a 10 handle move. Wow. Let's check it out over on J4X. Right there. Look at the size of that candle. Woo, doggy. Woo, doggy. So it's looking very runnerish, as we used to call it. Runnerish, like it wants to take off. Indeed. So, where do we go from there? Hey, Jordan, how you doing this morning? It's been a very entertaining day to me in the sense of it's very interesting to see some of the action we're seeing. The strength of the dollar, but the lack of buying power it is showing us in America. But it's, and since the world is not very productive, it's very hard for us to use this strong dollar to buy things. It's not like you have too many companies that compete with our companies, But when they do, like I have friends that are engineers at Siemens. I have friends that are engineers at Steel. Trying to think of what other German companies they are heavily established here. Very heavily established and big. They do way more production here than they do in Germany. Matter of fact, we produce more German cars in America than Germany does. That's how productive we are. And that's saying a lot when you have a guy like Biden as president. It really does. Because he's a clown. He is a clown. Then from there, we go from that to last of all, we go to south of the border. South of the border, the Mexican Peso. Do 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 do. Look at that thing bouncing off of the low end of the range, even so tight, in the 0.23 down to the, I guess you could call it the 100 or the 0, either way, and then it would be 0.23 then the 0. It just bounces along there. Now you see we're trying to get some strength out of it after going into a sell here that pretty much did almost nothing. At the same time, we are in a weekly sell from this area here. So it's been an interesting ride. And that was a good one there. This was a fair one there. This has been an incredibly sloppy one here. It's getting to the end of the road, giving you a warning like, keep out of your position. Move out of your position. Go flat. Go flat until this thing rolls over again. It's awful hard to want to always sell things at bottoms and buy them at tops, I always go, ooh, it's at the top of the range. I don't know if I want to buy that. So sometimes, I remember with the yen, we'll show you that. I remember that. It happens every so often where you get all the signals. Let me show you. It's a classic. So, where was it? It was here. So we'd seen the yen play with this range. Let's see if we can do this really clear. We saw the yen play with this range for a while, like 116, 115. It would go into a buy. We knew it at the top of the ranges, and we were like, it was in the daily buy, and it would back off, and it would do it again, and it would do it again. It was playing like this range for, I don't know, like 4 or 5 months. And then finally, the third time it went after the number, and it went into that buy. I was saying to Robin, I said, this has got to mean something big. I mean, 3 times always a charm. And so, sure enough, this thing ran from like 115 to 125, all the way up to there in just a matter of a month and a half, And then it kept on running and refused to get out of the week. Let me put the center line in there. And just refused to get out of the weekly buy. I mean, it just was like, it ran up into the 30s. and then it did the correction. 1 week, just 1 week, it gave us it went into a sell, and it lasted, I guess, 2 weeks with it. No, it lasted 1 whole week. Went back into the weekly buy again and ran from 130. I think it was 140, 145. Yeah, 141. What is that? 140. So then it ran up to there, and then bounced along that for a while, and now we've gone into the went into a weekly sell, and it tried it was sloppy down, and at its lows, and then it started to take off again. And it's been an interesting watch. I in many ways I see the yen as like the canary in the coal mine. I say that every so often, and that's what I mean by that. It seems to give us greater insight. It gives us greater insight. I guess that's the best way to describe it. So, let me see what else from there. And then from there, we go. What else we got to go? Let's see. I guess we've done. That's it. The Mexican Peso. Let's put it up on there. I thought I put it up on there. Oh, I know it is. I was just talking about the craziness. Yeah. So that's it. We're done the currencies. If anybody wants to see anything in the currencies, we'll gladly go back to them. But right now, that's the rhythm we do. It's an easy rhythm. We try to see the world. I guess Canadian. I guess it would be nice if there was like an Aussie or a New Zealand in there, but no one seems to ask for it anymore. Kind of do like south of the equator money, in some way. Too bad China doesn't have a floating currency. I would love to follow that. A floating currency in China would be perfect, but those guys are really having their issues with opening markets up. Let me think. What other ones we do? We do the yen. I guess that's what it is. We look at the yen. The yen is down there. We look at the Canadian. We look at the majors still, really. Swiss, cable, euro, yen, and let's see. I said them all: cable, Swiss, euro, yen. Is that 4? What's missing out of that? Euro and cable and Swiss and yen and Canada. That's the 5 majors. I guess they're still majors on some level. And then from there, quantitative easing has made all the currency pairs much more productive. Let's put it that way. Then, we look at the Mexican Peso. We look at the South African Rand. There you go. South African Rand's a southern hemisphere. What else do we look at? We look at the Turkish Lira. We look at the Turkish Lira in 2 different ways, dollar and euro. So that's an interesting sprinkle. I think. We used to look at the currency that will not be named. It's like Voldemort in Harry Potter. We don't say it anymore. We just, it's not very publicly traded anymore. It's an Eastern European region. An old empire at one point. We have the Zloty on there, but no one asked for me anymore about the Zloty. Let's look at the Zloty just for a quick look. Zloty is a very impressive currency. The Euro Zloty, look at this thing. It's parked in the 4s. When looking at this thing, it's been like that for a while, and it's parked between the 4.5s and 472. Very impressive. Would you like to see the AU? Yeah, we have that. Matter of fact, it made a wild move a couple days ago. There it is right there. Went into the sell. I guess it was, what did it do? It went into the sell here. There's a volatility there. You can see we even have a range setup situation. Let's scrunch that up so you can see it. And it's playing below the bottom end of the range, which was, it stayed in the range for, since like 2019, I'm sorry. And then it, 2020 and so forth, it still stayed in the range, and then the inflation pressed on it. And there it is there. We went into the buy there. That was nice. We climbed into the weekly that week, and that was a wonderful winner chicken dinner for a couple weeks. Then I went into a sell. It's one of the things I can say about that and the New Zealand currency, they can be very consistent. They get into trends, and they stay in them. Like notice, like this one goes into the weekly sell up in here, and hits the low end of the range, but still stays in that sell all the way down to here, and their dailies like to match up, that's what I'm really talking about is the daily. Let me do this. Let's widen this out like that, so you can see, it goes into the. We'll steal this. So it goes into the sell right there. Is that the sell? Let me just double check. Yeah, it goes into the sell right there. Goes into the weekly sell that week. Jumps into steal this one here. Goes like that. Goes into a buy. If you're in a sell, you don't want to take that, of course. And then it goes right back into the sell again a couple days later. And it drags on and goes down and it makes money. And then I think it goes into a buy like right there. Put the sell back in there like that. And then it just lasts 2 days again, but you're in a sell. And then I guess what it does is it goes into the sell, and then you really get some nice wins out of it. Again, some fat. It makes some lots of chicken dinners, and then it gets into a buy. And again, you don't take it, of course, because you're in a weekly sell. And then look at the next day, they slam the daylights out of it again. It doesn't. That's a loser right there. I mean, I think it makes a new low the next day. The low there was 67.14. The low here is 67.11. So it was barely any profits to be had. But then it gets back into a buy, and we start to lift here, and you see it playing with the manifold, and then. That's a winner chicken dinner, all that for sure. And then, we're going to a sell, but we're in a buy, so you don't want to take that. And we get into another buy right here. I guess that's the buy right there. And that's another big winner chicken dinner. And then it gets into a sell. You don't take that again because we're in a buy, and then it starts to break down. And then I guess right there is the sell. Let's put that in. There we go. And the daily sell. Let's grab a daily sell. There's a daily sell right there. So it's been another winner chicken dinner on the downside. Yeah, I find some of those currencies. I think we used to look at that here. We had people would look at, like, say, cable yen or something like that, or some of these things really had some strong consistencies, where there's great distances between the weeklies and the dailies, and in other words, they run for a while. They run a trend. They really trend well. Maybe because they don't have the export market as much, so you don't have people trying to take profits and so forth. In other words, they start to run, and the trend drives them. But daily trends can be very, very pronounced. I guess that's a good way of looking at it. In other words, they're very consistent, and you see it on the charts, and it's like, wow, that's I'm always surprised. We used to have clients that were using our work down in like New Zealand and Australia, and they were there we had them for like a year and a half, but then they drifted away. I don't know, one guy started fighting the system, making money and then fighting the system, like thinking that a lot of times I've had people do that throughout when I was young. People would, subscribe to my hedge fund service, and those people were paying big numbers. And they always, what their investors, let me just describe what a lot of hedge fund investors do, people who have hundreds of millions of dollars. The investors, they have big money, and the investors go to a hedge fund, and they find hedge funds that have like long track records of success, but they're losing in this quarter or 2 quarters in a row. They've been down because the market or the economy have been down. So what they do is they actually put more money into the hedge fund when they're losing than when they're making, because they want to buy low, sell high. So the managers that would use my service would say, money's coming in, markets are going down, and they want to be invested, thinking that in the next couple quarters it's going to go back up, and they'll liquidate some of their hedge fund investment in it. And so I once in a while had people who would try to do that on me after like 3 and 4 and 5 years of successful trading. They were like, you got to top out sooner or later. Your math just has to top out. And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. And they'd be like, yeah, it has to. Everybody has a cycle. And it's like, well, we have middle of July to middle of August usually that's kind of sloppy. That's usually bad. No, not this year, of course, but a lot of years it is. I mean, like a lot of years, 8 out of the last 10 years. But ever since quantitative easing, they've really messed up that cycle, so we're even more accurate than ever. And then, and then obviously you have the end of the year, like November, late October to December. Our math usually picks up stuff, but it gets a little sloppy around the Thanksgiving time for us, where it's a national holiday, and Christmas. It can get a little sloppy. And then you have panic buying or selling going on for the end of the year for taxes. So, we have a couple of spots in the year that are kind of weaker than most. But when it comes to year over year, we're always 8.5 out of 10, if not better. So it seems 8.5 is our low. And so, we had a couple of people who Robin's trying to tell them, don't fade us. And they're getting their heads handed to them, and they lose money, and they're like, no, you can't. And it's like, you can't keep on winning. It's like, I can't say it any more than I've already just said it, But anyway, thank you for asking for AUD. I always love looking at stuff like that and taking it apart. Let's save that, so next time someone says, hey, let's look at AUD. Save workspace. Save workspace. Yes. There we go. So now, let's see. What do we got going on here? Let's go to gold and silver, unless someone wants to see another currency. So there's gold. Gold's kind of flirting around, a little bit lower than yesterday. We saw that when we were looking at the South African Rand. And let's see where we got over here. Let's put it up on there. Let's go to silver, really. There's silver. Silver's trying. It's in a weekly sell for a couple of weeks. And, it's having its issues. And where's it at? Silver. Right there. So the pressure's on. It was flirting with a buy this morning. Silver. It seems to have pushed itself out of the way now. You can see that. It was up higher, and this was through the zero line. It's very close either way. We'll have to see how they play that out today. And, they've made the new lows. They took out these lows here. And let's see, gold, has gold done that too? Not yet, but very close. Yeah, it has. So it's taken out the lows here too at the same time. So, that's really, we're looking for a change in the metals complex, a real change coming over the next 6 weeks. We think that interest rates, after the election, we really believe it's actually 8 weeks. After the election, we'll see, how they play those things out. Now, let's see, where do we go from here? We go to copper. See what copper's doing. Right there. And it's dropped off from yesterday, but it's still in a buy. It was flirting with a weekly buy. Now it's disappeared. Let's remove that for the moment. It's just on the hair of the chinny chin chin now, back underneath. And then, let's see what else we got. Let's just save that. There we go. I'm going to save it fresh again. We have a client that looks at that in another 45 minutes. And then let's did we look at platinum yesterday? I don't remember if we did or didn't. But there's platinum. It went into the weekly sell last week. Where's that line at? There we go. And there's the platinum. Yep, that's it right there. And it's bouncing. Look at that. It's trying to bounce up. Touched the $800 area, and now it's gone up to $850. And went into the sell at 800 on a daily, and it's trying to get into the buy, but we're seeing a volatility signal at the moment. Let's just throw after silver on J4X. Let's just put the copper up there too, right there. You see, it was green yesterday, and Hinky's red again today. All right. From there, we slide over to crude oil. There's the spot contract, making new lows, kind of breaking more of the range than I'm expecting. I guess it's challenging that right there. And, it's flirting with the weekly sell. It's been in a daily sell since the $90 area. So we're not trapped in anything, thank goodness. Let's take a look at some of the back months. And also we're going to do this. We'll put on J4X, we're going to put up Brent. There's Brent right there. Heading south at 90 now. And let's look at the November contract right there. November was interesting as it was flirting. Yeah, it still is. It's flirting with a weekly buy. It's in a weekly sell. And that daily sell was from here. So it's been an interesting ride, Let's see, what else we got going? Let's look at December contract. There's the deck contract. Now that's having even a harder time to getting into the sell. And they're all cruising in the, what's that? That's at 83.04 on December. And spot front is 80, where's it at? 83.75. So basically about a 70 cent carry discount to December. And then let's see what else we got going on here. Then from that's the crudes. Let's see what natural gas looks like. And since we've been following the wrong thing in Europe, we will, you can see American gas right there. There's American gas. But there is no European gas. We're underneath the $8 area now. It's backing off. And you can see the same thing here. And then over on, we look at the, I guess the Spanish natural gas company. So we can find it here. It's not far around. Where is it at? There it is right there. And that's trading at 27 and change. So it is moving down a little bit. Nothing major. Actually, it might be a little bit higher than yesterday. And so you can see the natural gas is feeling the pressure here in the States. They're starting to sell it down. They're not afraid of it anymore. Again, there's a lot to be said for the next 61 days. That's what it comes down to. They have a clock now. This is how insane it is. Some of the news channels actually have clocks to the election now. 61 days it is. That's pretty much it with the energy sector. Now what we can do is we will slide over to the let's do it this way. There is the NASDAQ. It's up 19 points. This is the S&P 500 down 2 points, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average down 32 points, and Bitcoin up 55 points. And this is the intraday. Now let's go look at them on a daily basis. So there is the S&P 500. You see it's kind of quiet sitting there. It's been in that daily sell since here, and the weekly sell since here. That's not exactly been a super duper trade. It's just been an okay trade. The Tech 100. Let's just show it to you on J4X. There's S&P 500. Lots of red and flirting with the lows of the stochastics. And then let's go over to right there, the Tech 100, which is the NQQ. Or the NQs or the QQQ. Depends on which, if it's an equity or an ETF or, a futures contract. So you can see there, same situation in a sell from that moment there. And the weekly was dipping much faster in that. And so, it's showing the pressure. It's a little bit more of a gain. That means the things like Amazon and, Cisco Systems and Microsoft and Intel and Apple Computer and all like that have been feeling pressure. Microsoft. All right. From there, we go over to the Dow Jones Industrial Average. That's right there. And you can see it's also been in that sell with the big drop of the Fed. That was the Fed day right there. And you see, the weekly's been dragging. Slow, steady, and down. And then let's jump over to, show you to you over here. Right there for the Dow. And then you can see over here on J4X, there is Bitcoin. A daily sell with that same day with the Fed. But it was in a weekly sell. So that was the easiest of the trades. And then let's show it to you on, there it is, like that, on J4X. So that, we follow the crypto, Bitcoin, because it seems to be the energized index of equities. So when the markets are going down, it goes down. When it turns, the markets seem to turn and go up. Same thing. Both when it starts to slide. In this case here, you can see it was 3 full weeks ago. This is the 4th week now. It went into the sell. That was the Federal Reserve right there, the 26th, and it had a slam before that. We were in a daily sell with it. See, this thing's a little bit more accurate in some ways than, they're all pretty accurate, but this thing sometimes picks up. It's becoming a very interesting product. Let's put it that way. It seems to be reading the markets even better and better as time goes on. All right, from there, we can take a quick look on the intraday. So here is the S&P 500. You see it's been trying to climb up. This is an intraday chart. It goes into a buy here and stays in the buy for this whole move. A little rough riding, but it does it. And then it goes into a sell here and goes down. Goes into a buy here, goes up. This is live trading. And goes down, goes into a daily, a intraday bar sell, goes down, and goes into a buy right there, and goes up. And it's flirting with the sell as we speak. We'll come back to it. Let's do the NASDAQ 100 right there. Same situation. Goes into the buy there, and stays in the buy till there. Goes into the sell there, goes down, goes back into a buy here. That's it, the third one right there. So right there. Goes into the buy right there. Is that right? Yeah, goes in the buy there. It's a very slow, sloppy, but steady run. Little sell here from this big slide. Almost just a very little profit. And then a buy right there. Much bigger profit. Then you can see, oh, look at that. This is the Tech 100. So it's just starting to flirt now with a sell. Maybe it'll put some pressure. We have, 4.5 minutes to the New York Open, so that's probably why. We'll take a look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and then we'll get out of here. I guess I could put a couple days into it. Right there is just, the sell went in here. That buy was kind of interesting. Bang, bang, nothing great, and then right back into a sell. Real sloppy action there. Look at that. There's the buy. And it was sloppy, and then went into the sell right there. And there was a good one. Went into the buy. And then it did slip into a sell for a couple and then vacillate, I guess you could call it. Then there's the Bitcoin in an intraday. Let's just recycle that. There we are. That was a cool buy. Went from 18,450 to 18,800. And then it went into a sell here and stayed in the sell at basically, what's that, 18,720. And stayed in the sell until right there, down in here. So it was like a 300 move, and then here's your buy. So it goes into the buy at 18,535 and gets into the sell at 18,605. So it's a very small one, and then no, it's not even there. It's right here. It does it off of that one. That sell right there. That's the sell right there. No, it's not, because we got a green, so it's still in the buy. No, the sell is here. I'm sorry. So it goes into the buy there and goes finally in the sell right there. Because remember, we have a green dot there, so it's not a sell. And then it finally goes into a sell there for that. Now it's back into the buy. So there's our little look of the intraday too at the same time. This is Doc from North America. Catch you tomorrow on Thursday, the day before Friday. So happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you, to all our trading friends. Later, later, traders. Be safe, be smart.